to Justice Quest.
Well, good morning, USA, and welcome once again to Justice Quest, our last broadcast for the week. All right, my name is Tom O'Neill. I'll be your host today, and all week we've been covering the Muslim invasion, and that's what it is. And we're going to continue on with that today. But this is a show where the host is tired of being reasonable, tired of being polite, tired of being calm, tired of just talking about it. We talk about the problem, and yet these problems still continue. And we're going to end that. And I'm not politically correct about it in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm going to call them as I see them. All right, and that's the way it is. But first, before we get started, we have some housekeeping to do. We went to the Ducks Unlimited banquet in Grand Forks last night and had a wonderful time. It was just done very good. But we got to talking about the show, and we went ahead, and the guy sitting on my left, he was saying, well, how do I find it? And I told him I gave him the address, and he started perusing through it, and he goes, you got merchandise being sold on your website that doesn't look like it has anything to do with Justice Quest. I went, really? So I checked it out this morning. Sure enough, yeah. So do not, and I say again, do not go ahead and buy anything off my website that you think is from the show, because it isn't. I'm working with my administrator. I just sent him a text saying, hey, can we do something about this? But the first thing we're going to offer on the website is the Justice Quest coffee mug, and it's even got the hammer of justice, the gavel of justice, and the hangman's noose on it. So we're going to go ahead, and that will be the first item, and I will let you know when it's up for sale. Okay. So going on, back on 14 August, 7 days ago, I went ahead and made a comment, our enemies surround us, are surrounding us. Well, let's first go ahead we're going to go ahead and Psalm 37, 12 and 13, the wicked go ahead and persecute the righteous, but the Lord laughs at their plans. Yeah, this is it. And I got a special note for all you Christians out there, that think that I'm full of hate. No, I'm a patriot. I love this country. I think God formed this country, and we need to keep it, all right, with his help. All right, but let me go ahead and share with you 2 Chronicles chapter 19. Because I am convinced that if 90% of today's Christians today were back when David faced Goliath, they would have talked him out of it and said, don't cause a scene, just pray for him, blah, blah, blah. Don't raise a ruckus, David went ahead and destroyed Goliath and his brothers. He went ahead and destroyed evil. All right. And that's what we need to do. And for those of you who say, Tom, you're not a real Christian, I said, I'll bet you I'm more of a Christian than 95% of you. Yeah, here is why. 2 Chronicles chapter 19. Then Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, returned safely to his house in Jerusalem. And Jehu, the son of Hanani, the seer, went out to meet him and said to King Jehoshaphat, should you help the wicked and love those who hate the Lord? Should you help the wicked and love those who hate the Lord? Therefore the wrath of the Lord is upon you. Nevertheless, good things are found in you, that you have removed the wooden images from the land and have prepared your heart to seek God. All right. Let's see. So Jehoshaphat dwelt at Jerusalem, and he went out again among the people from Beersheba to the mountains of Ephraim and brought them back to the Lord God of their fathers. Then he set judges in the land throughout all the fortified cities of Judah, city by city, and said to the judges, take heed to what you are doing, for you do not judge for man, but for the Lord who is with you in judgment. Now, therefore, let the fear of the Lord be upon you. Take care and do it. For there is no iniquity with the Lord our God, no partiality, nor taking of bribes. Yeah, our judges today should pay attention to that. All you church-going Christians out there who said that we should be meek and humble, and I've got something about that here later on, you should pay attention. God said to Jehoshaphat, should you help the wicked and love those who hate the Lord? Yeah. Yeah. No, you shouldn't. That's why when somebody posted a thing on Facebook here a few months ago, about 6-8 months ago, and said that, oh, pray for Hillary Clinton. My question is, why? You want me to pray for a woman who does nothing but evil? No, that ain't going to happen. I pray that God changes her heart, but that's as far as I will go. All right. Now, let's go ahead. And this is not, we're going to discuss the citizens, enemies of the United States citizenry. All right. Those of us who sit here and obey the law and pay taxes. All right. That's the U.S. citizenry, and we're getting to be fewer and fewer. All right. And this is by no means an inclusive list. U.S. politicians, they're number one. They won't pass the Save America Act. In fact, the Senate sneaked out of town before they could go ahead and vote on it. Yeah, and Trump was urging them to. Why? Because they want to keep cheating on elections. Muslims, they're continuing their invasion. Trump is trying to shovel them out of the country as quick as he can, and people are trying to stop them. Greedy corporations, pharmaceuticals, yeah. They're not there to cure illness. They're there to go ahead and just control the symptoms. Ka-ching, ka-ching. When I go ka-ching, ka-ching, they're using the American people as an automatic teller machine. To include Monsanto, all right? They went ahead and they patented life. You can't do that. And this is the one big thing that I've got against Clarence Thomas. He was a Monsanto lawyer, and he voted for this, and ruled in favor of Monsanto. Monsanto is going ahead and, how can I say this? That Food Inc. video that I had here a little while ago is Monsanto went ahead and produced a soybean that was Roundup ready. In other words, you could just use Roundup on it, it'll control your weeds. All right. And they patented it, which they have the right to do, I guess. Now, cross-pollination occurs, all right? So people who were just saving their seed every year to go ahead and plant more soybean off the same seed, all right, would get some of the cross-pollination effects, and they would have to prove that they didn't buy Monsanto seed. All right. See, Monsanto said you got to buy your seed from us every year. You just can't save your seed and replant it. But people who went against this said, no, we'll just continue saving our seed. You can keep your frankenfood yourself. And they go ahead and now they're sending strong arm tactics out there to go ahead and say, prove that you're not using Monsanto seed. And they can't because of cross-pollination. All right. So, they're taking a small farmer to court. All right. And who doesn't have money. And so they plead guilty, just to end it, this is called lawfare. All right. They go ahead and I go ahead and represent myself. First thing about North Dakota, the first rule in North Dakota is you do not hire a lawyer because he will do what the state of North Dakota tells him to do. And that is, that's been documented on that thing that I showed you, North Dakota's Godfathers. It was a book. Yeah, the big books they're going ahead and scanning books into the thing, and then they're destroying books. Print cannot be rewritten, but if it's in a computer, they could do a couple of keystrokes and they could change something critical. All right, Big Food, another politician. Tyson is one of them. All right, they recently closed 3 beef slaughterhouses to jack up beef prices, claiming a beef shortage. Yeah. Well, we quit buying our beef in the grocery store a long time ago. We're buying it from the local farmer, and I suggest that's what you all do. Two can play at that game. All right, big oil. Yeah, let's take a look at big oil suppressing high mileage devices. We showed you that. I brought in the pamphlet, that 200 mile per gallon carburetor developed by Albert Pogue back in the 30s. Yeah, now 1930s technology. Gasoline was just getting started. And yet, big oil comes around there. They buy up the rights for a couple $1 million, and then they go ahead and they shelve the patent where it runs out. All right. Shade tree mechanics are coming up with high mileage devices, and they went ahead and they said, well, we can't keep out paying millions of dollars to these nobodies, so let's go ahead and write something into the Clean Air Act, so OEM equipment. Yeah, we discussed that. Now, if your car doesn't have original equipment manufactured items on it, no matter how clean it burns, all right, it's not street legal. All right. Which kind of defeats the purpose of the Clean Air Act. They want your carburetor to go ahead and get 15 miles to the gallon, all right, and that's it. When cars were first invented, they were getting like 25, 30 miles to the gallon. Now, our mileage has gotten worse. Ford Motor Company is a big one for that. They went ahead and they started developing high mileage. One of them, high mileage carburetors. One of them got out of the factory. Some guy bought it, and his pickup was getting 60 miles per gallon. He bragged about it, and then they came and seized his vehicle. Yeah, gave him a new one that back to 15 miles to the gallon again. Who put oil on the commodities market? Every time somebody farts in the Middle East, the price at the pump goes up 25 cents. Take a look at the latest crisis. We had the memorandum of understanding signed 2 months ago. Yeah, right. Price started coming down again. Now prices are that fell apart yesterday. All right, prices have now gone up 20 cents at the pump again. Our oil is not affected. We produce enough of our own oil. Another enemy of the United States citizenry, the United Nations. The United Nations votes against Israel in the United States about 90% of the time. The World Economic Forum, yeah, Project 2030, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. We've got globalists. We got our own fellow citizens who are sitting there protesting ICE for doing their job. We got the medical profession, to include pharmaceuticals and doctors who just push these drugs on you, and then they get a kickback from the pharmaceuticals. We got drug lords. We got banks. All right, we've already said after the crash of 2008, the taxpayers bailed them out. The taxpayers. All right. And nobody ever went to jail for it. They already announced that the next crisis they have, the next crisis that we have, we're going to be taking the bail in. In other words, if it's in the bank, the money's ours. That was one of the reasons Billy Boy Clinton, Slick Willie, went ahead and repealed Glass-Steagall to prevent that same thing from happening. We got the market manipulators, all right? Nobody ever goes to jail over this. There was a big investigation. All right. All the incriminating documents were in Building 7 of the World Trade Center, and that went down, which brings up the next point. 9/11 inside job. Some company went ahead and bought insurance on Building 7 a couple of months prior to 9/11, and he specifically had a terrorist attack clause in it. And there was a big fight about that between the insurance company and him. All right. So does that tell me that it was known that it was going to happen? Yeah, it's an inside job. In fact, every terrorist incident had government connections. Building 7 was also built in the early 1970s, and it had a lot of asbestos in it, a lot of asbestos. All right. So when it was going to cost like $1.2 billion to go ahead and clean out the asbestos, but if a terrorist attack happens and takes it down, well, problem solved, And, I've watched the Building 7 go down and it collapsed into its own footprint. That's a controlled demolition, people. I'm not buying it that this was a terrorist attack, because I just recently uncovered something here that the FBI went ahead and tagged 2 of the terrorists as belonging to a terrorist organization. The CIA says, oh, yeah, well, they're our men. So, yeah, that was it. And the FBI says, are you sure? This is the problem. It's an institutional thing. That's why the institutional jealousy, they guard their own secrets. But that is the reason that the Department of Homeland Security was invented. It was supposed to be a small office building about the size of the studio, where the FBI and the CIA get together and share information, so that this doesn't happen again. I remember George Bush saying that. And look what it's turned into. We got garbage collectors are being now in the loop. Let's see. Obama, he let the Muslims in. He opened the floodgates. Biden, he opened up the southern borders. He went ahead and sent loaders down there and ripped up the borders. We have the judges. We got the press. We have every government agency. They are out there looking for you people. Looking for an excuse. All we got to do is take a look at Randy Weaver and David Koresh. And I went ahead and I found a few things on Facebook, and this sentiment has taken over the United States. We did not declare war on the government. The government has declared war on we, the people of the United States. Yeah. So I'm not the only one saying it. You got other people out there saying the same thing. Another one states, Democrats are fine with vaccine cards, but not voter IDs. Paying attention yet? Yeah, that's a good point. We need ID for everything. We need ID to buy cigarettes, ID to buy booze, ID to go ahead and we got to carry our ID on you when we're operating a motor vehicle. That's North Dakota state law. Let's see. I didn't one time and I got stopped and I just happened to know my driver's license number. And the cop said, well, you have to carry it. I said, well, if I know it, why do I have to carry it? And he just wrote it down and, okay, fine. Proved out who I was. And, but that's it. Have you got travel papers, comrade? Yeah, that's what that reminds me of. When you got a tank full of gas and a handful of cash, nobody can tell you what to do. If somebody in government doesn't like you with digital central bank digital currency, CBDC is what they're calling it, they can just shut off your thing and you're stuck wherever you're at. And you think I'm being paranoid? You think I'm being a little bit more dramatic? Or you think I'm doing... Look what happened in England. People are going to jail for Facebook posts. Yeah. English citizens are going to jail, Facebook jail posts, but Muslim rapists are being let free. Yeah. With all this gun control talk, I haven't heard one politician say how they plan to take guns from criminals, just law-abiding citizens. Yeah, good point. We covered the Virginia gun control debate. They had 5 gun bills on the table. 3 for law-abiding citizens that passed. All right, that's being argued in the courts now. And some people are others are refusing to abide by them, which is good for them. All right, that's what you're doing. And 2 for criminals, okay, that just languished until they died in committee. So how is this not declaring war on the honest United States citizen? I want somebody to go ahead and prove that and explain that to me. One of my thing here was judges, another enemy. All right, liberal judge Cindy Truong released a black multi-offender rapist. He raped yet another woman just after being released. I mean, really? You know, people, we've got an answer to these right here. Right here. It's quick and easy. You're found guilty, okay, execution in 30 days. Pick out your last meal. Now, we spent the first part of this week talking about the Muslim invasion, and that's what I'm calling it, an invasion, because that's what it is. They moved out of the Middle East, and they took over all the stands, and then now they're moved into Europe, and we just saw the 1,800 Moroccans invading Spanish soil. Yeah. Machine gun them down, you know. I don't see what's so hard about this. We don't want to look like the bad guys. Well, you're defending your territory. One of the things that I went ahead and didn't put on this list was, I don't think, I guess U.S. politicians, all right. In that, I'm saying like the Democrats and the rhinos. Democrats declared sanctuary cities and states to attract illegals, not Trump. Democrats gave illegals free health care on taxpayers, not Trump. Yeah, they're doing that out in California. They're letting them live in hotels in New York City too, going ahead and paying for their room, board, and health care. We just passed $40 trillion in debt. 40 trillion, people. Yeah, it's like somebody wants this country to fail. Democrats gave illegals SNAP benefits to keep them there, not Trump. Democrats did this to gain House seats and electoral college votes, not Trump. That's why Trump wants to do another census and count only United States citizens. All right. For those of you who went ahead and I kind of went out of order here, but let's see. I had on my list the World Economic Forum, New World Order, UN Agenda 2030 Mission Goals. Here they are, right here. One World Government, number 1. Number 2, End of Nations, One World Army, One World Police Force, End of Family Unit, One World Central Bank, One World Cashless Currency, End of all private property, End of world depopulation and fertility control. World depopulation. That's code phrase. We're going to kill you all. All right. End of home and car ownership, mandatory multiple vaccines yearly, universal austerity income. In other words, you're all going to be dirt poor. We're going to give you just enough to live on. That's it. Social media, digital ID, Microchip for health, shopping, and travel. Implementation of Chinese social credit system. Government biased children, I guess. All businesses run by state. End of non-essential air travel. No more airplanes. Humans concentrating in the 15-minute zones. End of private farms and vegetable gardens. End of annual animal ownership. Ban on all natural medicine. Why that? Because natural medicines work, right? These chemicals that they're putting in us are killing us slowly. They don't cure disease, they just prolong it. They manage the symptoms, that's it. All accounts and end of individual rights, limited access to wild spaces, end of fossil fuels and wooden and modern conveniences. Oh boy, they're gonna put us back in the Stone Age. Yeah. So that's what that's what Fun Times the World Economic Forum has for us. We got the globalists against us, and that could be lumped in with the World Economic Forum. Yep, that's a subdivision of it. I mean, it goes on and on, people. I mean, at what point do we say enough's enough? At what point do we just say, hey, look, you know what? You can have it, just not here. And I think the American people are starting to wake up to the fact that, hey, this is not going right. I mean, I watched the thing on Dearborn, Michigan, what's going on, and the Muslims all want to go ahead and say we're here just to live in peace. We all have to be unified. We all blah blah blah. They want peace. They want unity under Islam. End of story. We showed you the pictures of women getting beat. We've got 5.5 pages here. No, 3.5 pages here of Muslim attacks in the last 30 days worldwide. One in New York City. And all of them resulted in at least one person being killed. Sometimes many as 20 or 30. Yeah, 28 in Nigeria. Okay. Paris, France, none killed, but 3 were injured. 30 killed in Nigeria again. Yeah, that's about it. Which part of this don't you understand? Muslims hate whites, Muslim hate blacks, Muslim hate Christians, Muslim hate Jews, Muslim hate women, Muslim hate dogs, Muslim hate Western culture, Muslim hate Western clothing, Muslim hate churches, Muslim hate American holidays, Muslim hate American food. Then why the hell are you here? If not to go ahead and invade. In fact, I've got a thing here from the United States Department of State. Radical Islam has shown that their desire is not simply to occupy one part of the world and be happy with their own little caliphate. They want to expand. It's revolutionary in nature. It seeks to expand and control more territories and more people. That's a clear and imminent threat to the world and to the broader West, but especially the United States, who they identify as the chief source of evil on the planet. Yeah, so get them out. Get them out of here. What Europe does is up to them, but we don't need to go ahead and put up with their BS here. America First went in and put out this. The Islamic regime is converting the Democratic leaders and liberals, and they're too stupid to realize they are signing their own death certificate. Wake up, America. America, prepare for war on American soil. Stay locked and loaded. Yeah. Keep your powder dry. I think it's time we go ahead and start taking out a few of these caliphates, a few of these high priests, and rounding up the rest and says, get out. Get out on your dime now, or you will be hoisting a bullet. We'll just erect the gallows in every city, round them all up, and say, okay, this is it. Leave or die. If you think you're safe from Islam, you're already losing. They have no intention of stopping our takeover. We will have war on American soil. Yeah, that's what it's coming down to. And it's not just against the Muslims. All right, we're going to have war on American soil because we, the American people, are getting sick and tired of all these people that I've mentioned here before. You know what? And this is not what America was standing for. This is not what God wanted when this country was formed. If you want to own a business, great, but you don't go ahead and manipulate things to go ahead and get a bigger market share. This is not what it's all about. Be content with what you have. If you're making millions of dollars, there's no reason you need to make billions of dollars. You know, the saddest thing about liberals is that they're not intelligent enough to realize how stupid they are. Yeah. You know, you've gone ahead and you've thrown your bed in with people who are going to kill you in the end. Yeah. When you go ahead and throw a revolution in a country, what is the first thing that you do? You get rid of all the revolutionary because, you know, you don't want them to stir it up again. It's like what the first rule of assassination, you kill the assassin. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and read you something that we've all heard growing up. The modern world reads, the meek shall inherit the earth, and immediately pictures a passive, quiet person who never fights back and lets everyone walk all over them. But the original word Jesus used, praeus, was the exact Greek military term for a war horse that had been trained to charge into battle without panic. The meek are not weak, people who cannot fight. The meek are extremely dangerous people who have placed their enormous power under the absolute authority of God. Yeah, we have not been turned loose. This is the one reason that we have not started shooting people decades ago. You know, and I know all the things about, you know, the left is waiting for somebody on the right to go ahead and start shooting, and they've got plans in place to go ahead and make them look like the bad guy. Yeah, and they've been doing it all along there. We've seen how it works. This is going to go into my drawer. We're going to bring that up from time to time. You know, years ago, I realized that, you know, my anger is a reflection of God's anger. You know, and if I get worked up and I get tired of the injustice that's going on in this country, all right, can you imagine how God feels about it? You know, and that's all I can say is, if you don't know your Bible, and this is what I preach in my church all the time, get to know your Bible. Get to know what's right and what's wrong. And then you'll have a lot easier time. And we will be united under God. We don't need to unite with one another. I don't want to unite with homosexuals. All right, evil companions corrupt. End of story. That's biblical. I do not want to go ahead and unite with crooked business owners because evil companions corrupt. I want to go ahead and live in a world where everybody has an equal right to succeed or fail, depending on how hard he works. And I'll tell you what, there's been times I worked 24-hour days. I was just telling my son about time I worked a few 36-hour days when I was in the military in a 142-hour day. I thought, holy cow. Man, I'll tell you what, I just about fell asleep driving home. Yeah, I couldn't get home quick enough. But I'm going to tell you what, you know, as we go ahead and on and on and on, you know, we're also faced with, you know, flock cameras going up all over the place. Yeah, this is, and we're paying for it through our taxes. Our county governments are paying for this. Yeah. And our state governments are okay with it. You know what? Read a good solution. At the next county commission meeting, a bunch of us, about 6 or 8 of us, go ahead and start filming these county commissioners with our video cams and our phones, see where they go. We follow them around for a couple of days. How do you like it? Well, I'm sure they would slap some stalking charge or something on that. Yeah, and what's the difference? I was kind of told to stand down, take it easy here not too long ago. And I said, why? I said, Mom, already on whatever list that they got. It was 20 years ago, I heard that there's a red list, a yellow list, and a green list. Green means you're good to go, you're a good liberal, you toe the line, blah, blah, blah. Yellow means you're not quite sure, red means you're absolute bad boy. I said, I'm already on the bad boy list. So, and I'm not about to change. I stand for God, and one world government or not, yeah, go ahead. Do what you need to do. Why are you doing this? Control. End of story. Everybody was getting along great in the 60s, 50s and 60s. And we go ahead, and if we deviate from this system, as God says, as we did in Deuteronomy 28, one of my favorite books in the Bible, number Deuteronomy 28. Promised blessings, promised curses for disobedience. Curse shall be the fruit of your body and the produce of your land, the increase of your cattle and the offspring of your flocks. Yeah, the birth rates are going down. And those that are being born are no longer healthy. All right, the Lord will strike you with madness and blindness and confusion of heart. Well, that's happened. All you got to do is look around. And you shall grope at noonday as a blind man gropes in darkness. You shall not prosper in your ways, and you shall be oppressed and plundered, and continually, and no one shall save you. Yeah, isn't that what we're facing now? You shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, where the Lord will drive you. Yeah. And I've already discussed this. I got wind of the fact that several nations out there, and I don't know which one they are, but I'm sure bet it's going to be Russia, China is among them, probably Brazil. A few others are planning, have contingency plans for when America fails. Not if America fails, but when America fails. Yeah. The alien who is among you shall rise higher and higher above you, and you shall come down lower and lower. Isn't that what we got going on today? If you're an illegal in the United States, you live like a king. You're putting up in a 5-star hotel in New York City or California or wherever, all right? You've got free food, free medical care, free this, free that. And what was that? The Lutheran Brotherhood that was bringing in illegal immigrants and taking a cut of their government things to establish them. They did it for money. But I'm going to tell you what God tells you. Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear nor be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, he is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6. And verse 8, and the Lord, he is the one who goes before you, and he will be with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Do not fear nor be afraid. That's why the foundation of this broadcast is God, Jesus Christ. He tells us what to do. And he says that he will never leave us. He didn't leave the Continental Army when it went 3 times. It was on the verge of being wiped out. And yet he provided for them. The Union won against the southern states. All right, and that was about slavery. I don't care if they claim it was states' rights, all right, but it was slavery. That's the state right that they were, the states' rights that they were fighting for. All right, and that's one thing about the Democrats. They always do. They always change the narrative. And this is what we got to stop, people. This is what we have to stop. This is God's country, not a Muslim country. This is God's country, not a country where the almighty dollar reigns. Yeah, we all work hard for what we have. We're not about to let it be taken away. And for those of you who think that you're going to go along with all this, and because you think that whoever it is giving you your marching order is stronger, you've got another thing coming. One day you're going to find yourself, and I say this as a word of caution, you will find yourself up in front of a firing squad against the wall. The American people are getting fed up with your shenanigans. And this is what we have to go in, and you better pay attention. But, Tom, you just threatened the whole United States Senate and Congress. I went, yeah, maybe I did. But they better stand up and pay attention. You better start listening to people who are warning this country. Bridget Gabriel's been out there 26, 27 years that I know of, warning about the Muslim invasion. She saw it happening before it gained ground. I remember watching her videos back around 2000. And when the normal press leaves the scene and they're out there, they're saying that we're here to take over this country. And they've done a pretty good job of it. They've got themselves a foothold. And for those of you in the Democratic Party, you're being used, being played like fools. I've seen a video of Caliphate, a Muslim high priest, saying that, they want to go ahead and partner with the Democrat because they're too stupid. Yeah. If you're all you think about hanging on to power and money and glory and fame, well, then you know what? You're going to reap what you sow. My Justice Quest mug. Yeah, it's got the magnifying glass. It's got the hangman gallows there. It's got the justice gavel. Yeah. We're going to be putting it on the website here shortly. So anyway, I just want to go ahead and let you people know that, you know what, you've got to get to know your Bible. I've been studying it for, 50 some years now, 52. I'm losing track, but you have to look hard to find a page where I don't have a few passages underlined. Yeah, because it's all important. Every word from the Word of God is important. Well, that's about all we have for today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to say you guys have a blessed day, a weekend in the Lord, and enjoy yourselves. Because I firmly believe that, we're in the last time, end days, and it's going to come to a crashing end, because what we're seeing is right out of 2 Timothy, the coming apostasy. We're there. And Jesus said you can go ahead and read the weather, but you can't read the signs of the times. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm reading the signs of the times, and I'm not going ahead and liking what I'm seeing. So my advice to all of you is get right with God. Research the Bible. See what the Bible has to say about it. Anyway, they talk about, they used to call the people that listen to Rush Limbaugh mind-numbed robots. Well, I'm going to say, yeah, it's the Democrats who are mind-numbed robots. They're the ones who are going ahead and partnering with the enemy to take over this country. They are here to destroy this country's institutions. And more power to them. You know, if you think you can do it, have at it. At least we know who you are. All right. Thank you for joining us. Again, you can go ahead and go to YouTube and view this broadcast. You can go ahead and catch it on my Facebook page. And we go ahead and just encourage you to keep your powder dry and keep practicing with those bang bangs, you know. Keep your booger hooker out of the bang switch until you're ready to shoot. That's all I can, that's about the best advice I could offer you. And so with that, I'll go ahead and sign off right now and say, you all have a blessed day in the Lord. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.